Hello, beautiful people, my fellow Validans. Welcome to another How to Draw video. So this time, we're actually going to be drawing the 2021 movie titled The Black Phone. So it actually was sent to a film festival in 2021. It wasn't officially, let's go back there. It wasn't theatrically released until 2022, however. So most people didn't see this until 2022. That's when it got really popular, and it actually did fairly well from what I had read. The character pictured here is known as the Grabber. He is the villain of this story. And honestly, I was quite surprised. It was pretty good. It has great character development as well. I think that's the biggest plus for this movie that was surprising to me. So, the, oh, spoilers in case you didn't know. If you've never seen this before, spoilers. Basically, this guy, the grabber, he goes around kidnapping the neighborhood kids to do, bad, terrible things to them because he's not a very good person. Although I don't know if he thinks he's a bad person or not, but yeah. So, anyways, so we have the grabber here. We have no idea what his motivations are. That's not really explained in the movie. I know that the Black Phone, it was adapted from I think his name's Joe Hill, from a Joe Hill movie. I think that's the son of Stephen King, if I'm not mistaken. I'll correct myself on all these facts in the in the rewatch when I edit this. But yeah, so this was adapted from a short story or whatever. It was adapted from a story. And the killer was initially a clown, so it had a lot of similarities to Stephen King's It, actually. And since, It Part 2 had just come out, I think they wanted to change it up and they didn't want to make it be overshadowed by It, so they actually changed the villain from an evil clown to an evil, like, magician. Like, he does, like, magic tricks, sort of, and stuff. He has these black balloons, so whenever he kidnaps a kid, he goes around in a van, a black van with like some kind of logo on it. And I don't know what he does to get the kids in. I guess I don't know if he uses the same tactic over and over again, but the way he gets one of the main characters, named Finney, into the van is by pretending to like drop a bunch of stuff on the ground, and then he's like, oh no, I'm so clumsy or something or whatever. Like he's like distraught, right? Because the grabber dropped a bunch of stuff, and Finney, he's being a nice kid. He's like, oh hey, do you need help? And then the grabber like gets him really close to the van, and then Finney says, "Oh my God, do you have black balloons in that van?" And the grabber's like, "Yeah," or whatever, and he grabs him and he like drugs him and stuff, and then throws him in the back. But the whole reason Finney knew about like the black balloons being like the calling card, I guess you could say, is because he has a sister, and his sister is actually partially psychic, or I guess she is psychic. She has like visions of the past victims, like the past boys who've been kidnapped. So there's been a lot of boys that get kidnapped over the course of the movie, and Finney is unfortunately just another one of those boys who gets kidnapped. But in the beginning of the movie, we see this kid named Bruce Yamada. He is the first one that we see who gets taken away. So the whole thing with Bruce is, and Finney actually knows Bruce because the beginning of the movie is a baseball game. Oh, I don't like that. Yeah, we'll keep it like that. The beginning of the movie is a baseball game, and Bruce's team wins. Finney's team does not win, but Bruce, he compliments Finney. He calls him his arm mint, meaning like, oh yeah, like you really had me going there. It was pretty close. Your arm is mint. Like it's a compliment, right? And everything. And then Bruce is just like enjoying his popularity and his success. His team is really proud of him. There's some girls who kind of like giggle when he's nearby and stuff. And he feels really happy and confident. And then that's when we see the black van appear, and poor Bruce gets taken, and that. So we're actually assuming that he's the first like missing kid, but we don't know at that point if that's true or not. And then we see, then we just go to Finney again, since Finney is yeah, he's the main character, and his sister's name is Gwen, the one who has the psychic visions. So the whole town knows that Bruce is missing, and Mr. Yamada, he's still putting up missing posters for his son, because that's heartbreaking to lose a child like that. You know that they've been kidnapped. You don't know where they are though. You're just worried sick about them. This is your child. Like you feel responsible for them. You love them. Well, typically, as depicted in movies, we have parents that love their children, although sometimes, not everyone loves their kids, and that, not everyone's the same. But in this movie, it does seem like a lot of the kids are fairly loved by their families, as far as we're. Even Finney and Gwen's father, even though he is an abusive alcoholic, he does love his children. You see, their father is still mourning the loss of their mother, who committed suicide. And from what the father says, supposedly she committed suicide because she also had supernatural like abilities, like she had visions, like her daughter Gwen. So we can assume that Gwen got that power from her mother, right? And but I guess it was too much for the mother, and she ended it, which is unfortunate. And then the reason that this is important is because throughout the movie, Gwen has more and more visions about the boys who've been kidnapped, about Finney, who also gets kidnapped. He actually gets kidnapped after the second boy. So first is Bruce, then we have Robin. I think his name's Robin. Yeah, probably. Then we have Robin, who's actually like Finney's best friend. So Robin actually helps Finney out, like whenever there's bullies and stuff. But he tells Finney, when he's still alive, he's like, "Hey, Finney, you gotta stick up for yourself, man. I can't be there always for you," kind of thing. And coincidentally enough, yeah, he's not there always for him. He gets kidnapped next, and it's actually pretty odd how he gets kidnapped because he's like walking from a mall or a parking lot or something, some kind of store, but it's in the back way. Like you could tell it's out of the way and not where the normal public walks. And then that's when you see the black van in the distance. So that's how you know that, Robin is going to get taken, unfortunately, as well. Which sucks. I'm sure that kid was like, oh, I'm just going to go this back way so no one bothers me. And he gets kidnapped. And he goes bye bye like the other boys, which is terrible. But yeah, it's just sad all around. But anyways, so then Robin gets kidnapped, and then Finney is distraught and upset. He's like, "Oh my God, the grabber took my best friend. What are we gonna do?" And shockingly, even though there's so many kids that are going missing, we don't really see the adults doing much to stop the situation. For example, Gwen, she is constantly going over to a friend's house. Yeah, yeah, that's fine. We don't need to have the teeth like super perfect or whatever. No, sorry. So Gwen is actually constantly going to a friend's house, despite the fact that there's been numerous kidnappings, and like all the kids seem to still have a lot of free roam and range with that. Which I don't know about you, but if I had a child and our neighborhood had been struck by numerous kidnappings, I would not let my child out of my sight. If I couldn't pick them up, I'd tell them you need to come straight home from school, blah, blah, blah. There's no going out, nothing until that gets resolved because it could be your kid who's next. And if you care about your kid, you don't want that to happen to them, right? So that's why I was shocked even though all this stuff was happening, like it just seemed like the kids would keep going on with their lives. I was like, oh, y'all should be more concerned. It might be you who's next, right? And maybe Gwen knew that it was all boys who were getting kidnapped. That's why she didn't think maybe she could be a possible victim, which is wrong to assume. Never assume in these kind of situations, is what I say. But yeah, so she's always going off to a friend's house, and Finney, it seems like he's going also conveniently. He's always, these boys are always, I guess, alone, and the grabber somehow is able to. I don't know if he marks them beforehand. You see, that's the one kind of issue I have with the movie. We don't get a whole lot of motivation from the grabber. We don't really know why he does these things. I mean, the easiest answer for why anyone does anything is because they wanted to. So we could all automatically assume yes, he wanted to kidnap and torture these poor boys because he wanted to. That's the reason. But it's kind of nice to have a little more background into the characters just to develop them a bit more, right? At least that's what I would think. This doesn't really look like a mask. It looks like an actual mouth. Um, Maybe if I just I don't know, we do a little grain or something right here. Try to give it some texture, maybe it'll work out. Do that. Definitely need to give it more texture. But, anyways, so we don't really have motivation for this guy on why he does anything, really. Just that he wants to. But, so that's the other thing, like I said, we don't know if he scopes these kids out or if it's just convenience. He goes out for a hunt, and maybe he's like always hunting, for something, right? For a victim. And those are the days that he finds them alone and they just happen to not be, you know, surrounded by people. They don't have people around them to watch them or anything like that. This does take place in the 1970s. So these are probably like latchkey kids, right? You know, their parents are high on drugs and alcohol and their brains are filled with lead poisoning. So they don't care what happens to their kids, especially with the dad, as we see with we don't get to see many parents, but we see like Finney and Gwen's father. He's an alcoholic mess. We can assume other parents may not have their life together either, and that's why it's actually fairly easy to kidnap in this town. So this is just all opportunity for the grabber, right? A whole lot of opportunity, and it's awful, but hey, that's where these things tend to happen, is where people just don't care, unfortunately. And I guess not always, people care, and sometimes that happens in even like the nicest of neighborhoods. So I guess I can't say that. But anyways, so we don't have much motivation for this guy. We just know that he kidnaps the kids and he takes them to a house and he plops them in a soundproof basement. So Bruce is kidnapped first. He's riding his bike around. No one else is around, oddly enough. Robin is completely alone, coming back from shopping or something, doing an errand of some sort. He comes back. And on his way back home, that's when the grabber, I guess, he saw, oh, there's a lonely kid. I'm gonna go grab him. I'm gonna get him. And then for Finney, his sister, so typically Finney and Gwen, they walk home together, right? They go to the same school, they walk home together. I'm guessing they're only like a year or two apart. And that day, Gwen says, oh, I'm gonna be at my friend's house, blah, blah, blah. I'll see you later. Take care of dad for me. And then Finney's like, yeah, I'll take care of dad, no problem, blah, blah, blah. And the sister leaves. And literally not that long after him walking by himself, we see the black van pull up and the guy act all sus and pretending to drop stuff and everything. And yeah, Finney gets kidnapped. Oh, but prior to Finney being kidnapped, that's right, I was on this point, right, of the balloons on the balloons. The police actually come to their school to get Gwen out of class because she had told, I think she had told Bruce Yamada's sister or somebody, she had told somebody that she had a dream about Bruce and there was a black van with black balloons. And I guess the whoever she had told had mentioned it to the police, and the police were like, what's going on here? Why does this child know confidential details of this case, you know? Like, why is that happening? And so that's why they question Gwen, they confront her. Ooh, like that. Yeah, that works. Ooh, don't like that. And she says, "Oh, it's just a dream. I don't know how I know. I just dreamt it," and blah blah blah. Because she has psychic dreams, and her father actively discourages these dreams because, like I said, he believes that the gift is what drove their mother to go bye bye, to unfortunately take her own life. And so Gwen actually gets in big trouble when they get home one day because her father, oh, you know what, these glasses need to be bigger. Oh, yeah, these glasses need to be way bigger. Whoops. There it is. Okay, I need to make these way bigger. I actually need to combine this so I'm not going back and forth between layers. Anyways, I'm gonna make this bigger in a second. Yeah, so Gwen had told the police, like, oh yeah, I have these dreams and everything, and the police are very interested in Gwen for the rest of the movie because of those dreams and because, well, her brother gets kidnapped like shortly afterwards. But yeah, so Gwen also tells her dreams to her brother, so that's why her brother was like, wait, are those black balloons in the van? Like when the grabber is pretending to like drop his stuff and everything. He goes like, "Oh, clumsy," and then Finny sees the black balloons, and that's like, I guess, the grabber's cue to like grab him. And then that's when we finally get to the part where Finny is now in the basement of a house that we don't know what house or anything at that point. And so the grabber, he's wearing this mask like for pretty much the whole movie. Well, there's scenes we get without, or I don't know if he's wearing the mask the whole time. You know what? No, I'm not. Don't quote me on that. He wears the mask a lot. Like that's like his iconic part of his like get up, right? In addition to this top hat thing that he's wearing. Stove pipe, is that what they're called? Like what Abraham Lincoln wore. Anyways, so we have the grabber, and he's really sus and creepy and weird. And he kind of lies to Finney like the whole time, saying like, "Oh, I'm not gonna make you do anything you don't want to do." Which, okay, I guess it's not technically a lie because as long as Finney stays in the basement, he doesn't really do anything to him. He just waits for Finney to, I guess, break the unspoken rules, right? Which, like, how would you know there's rules if you're never told what the rules are? Which kind of sucks. But so as long as Finney is in the basement, nothing bad really happens to him till like the end of the movie. And there's a black phone, so that's why now we get to the title. Yay, black phone. The reason it has this name. There is an old black rotary phone in the basement with Finney, so there's only like a couple things in there with Finney. There's the phone, there's a mattress that's on the floor, there's some rugs, there's a toilet like around a little like corner area, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And then the grabber, he brings like Finney food at one point after Finney's been there for a little bit, and Finney has been on the phone. Like the grabber had told him like when the phone first rang, like, oh yeah, it rings, but there's no one there. It must be like static electricity or something because the phone, the wire is cut. Like there, it's not connected to anything. There's no electrical source that is connecting this this thing, right? As far as we're aware, there's no source or whatever. And I just need to connect this to the nose here because he likes to have put some shading right there. And so the first person Finney hears when he picks up the phone is like nothing but static. But then later on, he hears the voice of Bruce. But Bruce doesn't know his name because he's been dead for a while, and Bruce like tells him it's the first thing that goes or whatever, and Finney's like it's the first thing that goes when after like what or whatever, and Bruce is like because he's basically telling him like yeah this grabber guy he got me, he tortured me and he murdered me, and so Finney's just freaking out, and the whole like main plot of the movie is Finney answering the phone every time, mostly every time it rings, and it's like the voice of all the dead kids. So the grabber has multiple victims. So I actually don't know the order, but we can for sure say one of the first victims was probably this one guy from like a long time ago. He was like a bully person. I don't even remember his name. But sorry, I'm like going out of order. Okay. So we have Bruce. He tells Finney like, "Oh, okay. There's a floor tile. If you dig under it, like maybe you can dig yourself a way out, And so Finney does that. He digs out part of a hole. It's not a full hole. He doesn't dig himself to freedom or anything, as that would be too easy. But let's see. Let's give him a nick because he does need a nick. Okay, there's a nick. Anyways, and so Finney's like, putting the dirt down the toilet so it doesn't accumulate, and he's doing this like in between like the grabber's like errands and stuff, and he puts a rug over the hole so the grabber doesn't like see it or whatever. And the grabber is like oddly enough taking like his time. And even Finney notices, he's like, why? I think at one point he literally has like, why am I still alive? And like, the grabber says, oh, things just aren't going to plan and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, so Finney digs a hole. He can't use it to escape. So it's kind of like a dead end, right? And then he gets a phone call from a paper boy. Yes, he gets a phone call from a paper boy who was also kidnapped and tortured and is now passed on. He gets a phone call from him, and that kid tells him like, "Oh, I I don't think you should go upstairs or whatever. Or you know, you shouldn't go upstairs because the grabber brings Finney like food eventually. He brings him some eggs and a Sprite. He brings him some eggs and a Sprite, and he leaves the door open because, he's been talking to Finney. He's like, yeah, things just aren't going to plan. And we find out the reason things aren't going to plan is because the grabber actually has a brother, and his brother is like visiting him from God knows where, but the brother obviously doesn't know that his that the grabber is the grabber, right? That he doesn't the brother doesn't know that his brother, the grabber, is the grabber. Okay. Okay, I got that. I got that down finally. But it has a lot of great storytelling. Like the boys are actively helping Finney throughout. Ooh, that doesn't look right. The boys are actively helping Finney throughout the movie, and the reason like Finney shouldn't go upstairs obviously is because well it's a trap, plain and simple. It's a really big trap because if he had gone upstairs, because the paperboy says no, don't go upstairs, that's part of the game, because that's how he moves on to the next part of the game, implying like that's after you've completed that part, then you go bye bye because that's the next part of the game, and the game is called Naughty Boy. And it's called Naughty Boy because, well, you're trying to escape. You're not following whatever the unspoken rules are, which we don't know what all the rules are. But this is definitely one of the rules that you shouldn't break, right? You shouldn't go upstairs when you're supposed to be in the basement. And we actually get a visual of the grabber with his mask, and he has like a belt in his hand or something. Like he's literally sitting in a chair without a shirt, waiting for Finney to come upstairs. And thankfully, Finney does not go all the way upstairs. and he just decides to, stay in the basement, and he eats his food, and then it's back to like square one, trying to figure out how to escape and all that. And yeah, so the paperboy actually helps Finny out one more time. So the grabber, he's tired. He's been waiting for Finny to like mess up, to be a naughty boy. He's been waiting for Finny to be a naughty boy, but Finny's not being a naughty boy. He's being a good boy. He's staying in the basement. He's eating the food that's provided to him, you know, and stuffs. And so the grabber actually falls asleep in his chair, and the paperboy says, "Oh, he's asleep now. You can escape now. The lock that's on the door is from my bike. It's my bike lock. The combination is on the wall, but I don't remember it exactly. So you're gonna have to like try out different combinations, right? You're gonna have to figure it out." So Finney does. He sneaks upstairs. He sneaks past the grabber. It's like there's a lot of suspense in this movie. Okay, and he sneaks past the grabber, and he gets the bike. He gets to the bike lock, and he unlocks it. And you think he has freedom, but unfortunately, the grabber has a guard dog. Who I don't remember the guard dog's name. I think it's like Samson or something weird like that. Well, the guard dog has blah blah. It's a guard dog, and the guard dog alerts him, and Finney does escape briefly, but the grabber catches up to him and stuff, and they make noise, but the grabber then puts like something to Finney's neck, like implying he's gonna like cut it. He's like, if you say anything, I'll do it to you now, or something like that. And so Finney stays quiet, and then he's back in the basement. And it's demoralizing because he was so close to freedom. It's terrible. And meanwhile, his sister is actually helping the police investigators, like by telling them her dreams, like begging for more dreams to like God and stuff, saying like, oh, I need to know my brothers, I need to help them, please help me, Jesus, stuff like that. And ooh, we want to get these shoulders in there. Yeah, I need to get these shoulders. So it's like that, like that, like this. We gotta put a little roundness to it. Ooh, that's a little too round. Maybe a little more out, a little more. Ooh, nope, that's too square now. Flare it better. And we're gonna keep it. There, we'll keep that. Okay. So yeah, it's demoralizing, and then the bully kid. It's not someone who bullied Finney at school. I don't think. I think it's like a much older victim. This guy that shows up. I think he's probably the first victim. This kid's like really weird. Oh, sorry. I'm stretching. If you hear all that noise, that's just my clothes rustling and me stretching. But the bully guy tells Finney like, "Oh, if you punch a hole in the wall like 2 feet above the toilet or whatever, and you unscrew like the metal screws you see, you'll find yourself in a meat fridge or something, and maybe you can escape from there." Finney does that. The kid is right. There's the meat fridge, but the meat fridge is locked, and there's no way to get out. And so now Finney is like desperate, he's crying because it sucks. He's like, "Oh my God, I'm not gonna be here much longer, The grabber's gonna get me now that I've played Naughty Boy because he got out of the basement. And now that he played Naughty Boy, he's gonna get it, right? Because that's the whole point of Naughty Boy, I guess, is to just torment your victims. And the grabber's like teasing him the whole time too. It's not like, oh, maybe I should put it down more. No, that's fine. He's like, "Oh, I really like you," or "I did like you, but then you were being naughty, so now you're gone," or whatever. Like he says like a bunch of weird stuff. He's very odd. And like I said, we don't really understand a lot of his motivations. And I found out that Ethan Hawke, the actor who plays the grabber here, he also plays Moon Knight. If you've ever seen Moon Knight, I haven't. I just heard it was really good, but I never really got around to watching it. But yeah, so he plays like Moon Knight and like some other roles that people know him from. But he's been, I guess, a villain for the past couple of years, and he's actually a pretty good villain. No, yeah, his performance in this is great. I don't dispute that at all. I just wish we had more background on him because we actually get to see some flashbacks of the victims and their lives and stuff. And one of the flashbacks is with the first victim, with the bully guy who he went to like jail for beating up a kid who ruined his high score at an arcade game or something. And we get to see like the gosh, what's it called? We get to see like the address number for where we assume Finney is being held in that dream, and that's what sparks Gwen, the sister, to go and tell the police the address she saw in her dreams. And at this time, Finney, he's crying and he's upset, and his friend Robin calls him, his best friend, the one who stood up for him against like the bullies and stuff. So his friend Robin is there. And Robin says, like, "Oh, this is the time you need to stand up for yourself. You have to do it now, and you have to get revenge for us. All of us kids and everything who didn't make it, tried to escape but couldn't." And he encourages Finney. He shows Finney how to fight. He tells Finney to pack the phone with some dirt to give it more weight, so when he swings it, it hits harder. And yeah, and Finney does, and he wins. He wins against the grabber when the grabber comes with an axe. Oh, I just missed a whole plot point. There's like, so you know how the grabber's brother is there? His brother's name is Max. The grabber's brother's name is Max, okay? So Max actually does find Finney like down in the basement and stuff. And he's like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna call the police. I'm gonna help you. Just hold on." Literally, like 3 seconds later, he gets hit in the head with an axe by the grabber here because he knows too much, and then he's all blaming Finney. He's like, "Oh, my brother was an idiot, but he was my idiot, and blah blah blah, and you made me do this to him and stuff like that." And he's like, "And now I'm gonna do it to you," and blah blah. He's being really creepy and evil and weird. And yeah, and then Finney fights back for the first time. He's been the victim a lot, even in real life, prior to being captured by the grabber here. Prior to that, and he sticks up for himself. He uses some wire that didn't work out. He was trying to reach like a window at some point. He used the wire to do it, but that didn't work out because I forget why. Oh, it's because the grating that he was using it for stability that snapped. And so there was no way for him to get back up to the window. So that's why that plan didn't work out like all the other plans, right? It's just so sad. I wish it would work out for him better, but it did. He did. He got revenge for the all the victims and everything. And that address that his sister saw in her dream was actually it was the correct address. Like they almost miss it, right? It was the correct address, and they find the bodies of like the previous victims in the basement. But that's not the house that Finney is being held in. That house turns out to be just across the street because so Finney, like, he baits the grabber and he trips him with the wire that he used to get to the window earlier. He trips him with that wire into the hole he dug that has the metal grate in it, and the grabber breaks his leg or his ankle. He breaks part of his ankle on the metal grate. And then from there, Finney is just wailing on him with the phone that's packed with dirt. Like, he's getting it done. And then the phone rings like one last time. And Finney says it's for you. And he has the grabber in a chokehold, like he's choking him. And he makes the grabber answer or listen to the phone. And you hear the voice of all the boys from the past, the past victims, like jeering at him, jeering at the grabber, like saying, "Oh yeah, Finney's gonna get you. Finney's arm is mint," because Finney is using his good arm, his baseball arm, and he uses that to break the grabber's neck. And so we do have that kind of like justice going on finally. And then from there, Finney escapes and he's reunited with his sister. And there's a coming of age story, kind of wrapped up in all this. It's really good. I know I'm spoiling like the whole movie, but it's just so good. I keep thinking about it, all the plot details, how amazing the teenage actors are, because Ethan Hawke, it has his name on it, right? The on the movie poster here, but the teenagers, man, the preteens and all that, they act really, really well. It's mesmerizing to see like the conversations that Finney has with these boys, and it's just their voices, and it's you're basically just looking at Finney's face, but you hear the emotion and the like the foreboding in their voices and like the creepiness and everything. And because it turns out that, Finney has a bit of a gift too. His sister has psychic premonitions, and Finney apparently can talk to the dead through kind of odd means, but he can still talk to them nonetheless, right? And so yeah, so he has his own gifts. And the father actually apologizes to both the sister and the brother at the end, like saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry," because he does beat the sister. He beats her pretty bad when the police come to his work asking him like, "Oh, why does your daughter know these details of the case and stuff?" And that's why he beats her. He's like, "These are just dreams. Your mother had these. They don't mean anything." It's because he's scared, and he's an alcoholic. Mm, People don't always do well on drinking alcohol every day, not just health wise, but mentally. I guess mental health is important too, if you want to just say health, but just health in general, I guess it's not great for you, and that is affecting his mental health. And that, but yeah, I don't know if he stopped drinking at the end of the movie, but we definitely know that Finney has much better confidence. We know he's going to be sticking up for himself now, much better than before. And yeah, I'm just very impressed, honestly. I wasn't expecting much. A lot of horror movies, they're like, whatever. But this was really good. And the fact that it's been adapted from a story by Stephen King's son, you could see a lot of those elements of Stephen King in his son's work then, honestly. And I mean that as a compliment. I don't know if he would take that as a compliment. I don't know if he likes being compared to his dad or not. But anyways, and then I also found it interesting that it's directed by Scott Derrickson. He directed the it's called Doctor Strange. Oh yeah, it says it right there in the movie poster. Yeah, from the director of Sinister and Doctor Strange. Yeah, he directed it, but I guess he didn't want to direct the second Doctor Strange movie, the Multiverse of Madness or whatever. And that's why he came onto this project, onto the Black Phone project instead. Well, I actually did read up that it was because of creative differences. Like, Derrickson didn't like the angle that Disney was going for. It, well, let's be honest, Multiverse of Madness was not a good movie. It was very, it was all over the place, and I didn't like it. I wanted something more. I don't know. It's called the Multiverse of Madness, but we don't really go to that many universes. Sure, in that little montage when Doctor Strange and the lone star chick, the one that has a star on her chest, that chick. Sure, they go through like a variety of universes in like that montage, but really it's like we only really get to see maybe three multiverses or something. Yeah, about three. I don't know. I just didn't like it. I wasn't impressed. I thought it was random. That was kind of slow. I don't know. It wasn't my favorite. I have to rewatch it to fully form a thought on it, on why I didn't like it. It definitely wasn't written well, that's for sure. That is for sure. But yeah, so we have a lot of actually like Marvel veterans kind of in this movie as well. We have Moon Knight as the villain. You have the director of Doctor Strange. It's pretty interesting, and to see that this is the product that came out, it's pretty good. I guess that just goes to show if you're not creatively inhibited by whoever pays you, you can make a pretty decent product because considering that they basically changed the entire villain almost, because they didn't want it to read too much like Stephen King's It. They changed him to like this magician with this really creepy like demon mask thing. It's pretty good and it's iconic. Like I've been seeing this movie poster for a while. Like I see it online. I saw it in theaters. I didn't see this in theaters, but I saw this movie poster like hanging around. So I'm glad we got the theatrical release in 2022. I'm glad that I finally saw it. I saw it on Amazon Prime if you guys want to watch it. But yeah, it was really good. I didn't think I'd enjoy it so much, but I did. I really, really did. I highly recommend it if you like horror slash suspense. And if you don't like that, then I hope my summary of the movie suffices. So you don't have to watch it, okay? If you get a little scared, that's okay. But yeah, so that's it, you guys. That's Ethan Hawke and the Black Phone. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And yeah, catch you guys again in the next one. Have a good rest of the week. Bye bye.